Yeah, a short recap. So in Florence, we had a really nice little event during the State of the Map, where we had people from all the continents there. So a little exercise that we started with was to group people by continent, which was interesting just to see like how well the spread was, and was surprisingly good actually. It was quite balanced. And pictures, awesome. And then what was also interesting of the grouping by continent is that actually a lot of people didn't know each other, so a lot of new connections were made. Even during an event where people are mingling all the time, it was an opportunity for some of them to talk for the first time. So that was really nice. And then we had an intervention mostly by Alan Mustard about the former chair of the OpenStreetMap Foundation board, about the role of local chapters within the foundation. Tobias and Jean-Marc, who were still on the board, were also there to talk about that. You can see them now. And then most of the rest of the time, we did an exercise, and maybe we should share this link perhaps, so that you can have a look later, with these nice little post-its where we asked everyone to share their successes and their challenges, and then we try to group them into common themes, and it was really nice to see how there's a lot of differences on the one hand, but also a lot of common threads, and it's that kind of input I think that we need in the working group to have an idea of the kind of things that we have to focus on. So one of the things that a lot of people were enthusiastic about was just the community building in itself. So they had a lot of success, or they got a lot of energy out of finding new mappers, using the welcome tool to help them engage with the community, bringing people together. It was a lot of people just enjoy all the community work that they're doing. And then when the community gets a little more formal, they often have nice contacts with other organizations or with local authorities and stuff like that. The mapping itself, like mapping projects, were often cited as well as success stories. And also just like when you're doing a lot of community work, it's always nice to just see people doing the mapping. It's like, you just plant seeds, and then it starts growing. That's one of the most energizing things I think of doing this kind of thing. Then when it comes to the harder stuff, some of it is more on a philosophical level. For example, when it goes about how far you can go with paid mapping as a local chapter. Can you do it at all? Can you do other commercial activities, or is it not a problem at all? It's can be divisive, and there's often differences between local communities and how they look at that. Another recurrent thing was the growing pains. Like you start from something very informal, and then it becomes formal, and well, just the formalizing itself can be difficult. But then there's also, you have the common goal of becoming a local chapter, and once you achieve that, it's also easy to lose energy, because it's like, okay, we're done, and then people lose their drive. So you need to find new challenges, and then in that case, so it's not that suddenly when you become a local chapter, it suddenly becomes easy. And then a very different level of problems that you can have is when you live in a country where forming a real organization is expensive, or even dangerous to you personally. So that's when the other kinds of association schemes come to mind. And Yeah, another thing that sometimes is difficult within groups is when for practical reasons you join forces with a different organization, and they have a slightly different way of looking at things that can complicate things as well after a while. And yeah, then also like the community management aspect of things while there's a lot of fun to be had from the community work, can also complicate life. It can be hard to incentivize people, especially if you're in a country where people are low on resources. Sometimes internet access itself is just already complicated, and then it's really hard to get people to volunteer at all. But the same happens in countries where that part is more easy. Then it can still be hard to get them to take part of in common projects. Then this stuff like discussions about should you meet people where they are, or should you try to get them to join more open channels, stuff where your community is more in favor of traditionally. But then, yeah, it's harder to recruit new people. These kind of challenges can drain a lot of energy. A solution of not choosing brings another problem. Then you have too many channels and you have to manage them all. And on the more practical side of things, like very typical at the state of the map is, yeah, you can only join, you can only be there to talk if you actually get a visa, which is a big hurdle for some people. Oh, and the last thing that I think is very relevant is that around the world, it's been hard to bring back real physical activities. During COVID, all that stopped, and it seems like it's harder than before to do that kind of thing. I think that's most of it. I think later on in the event, we have some time for a more open discussion. So if you see some common threads there that you want to work out, we can get back to that. Back to you, Maggie.
All right, I got the hot potato. Thanks, Joost. That was a really great update. Welcome tool. So we're sharing, these are everyone who's presenting now is working together on the local chapters and communities working group. And we have different projects that we take on. And these are just a few of the efforts that we're sharing today. But if you have an idea for a project that you want to lead, let's drop in some seeds here. Jonathan, are you going to talk about the welcome tool?
Yes, sure. I can do that. do hope you see my screen. So yeah, in 2020, during the first local chapter and communities congress, part of the congress was indeed how to improve the way we welcome people in joining the OpenStreetMap community. There was already a few tools running around the world. One of those was indeed a tool for Belgium, and the idea was then to try to have a tool that works for any region in the world. And last year during the same Congress, we introduced the new version of the welcome tool, which was indeed should be easy to add any region in the world. And a year later, we now have 50 regions around the world that are now using the tool, some more than others. As you can see, there is for each region, there is a little progress bar. So when it's filled, it's basically every single new mapper joining that region has been welcomed. A few regions are quite active. They welcome basically new mappers every day. Some other regions are less active, but the goal is each region basically can use the tool how they want. So we now have, as I said, 50 regions and 12 languages. So here at the bottom of the tool, you can basically switch to other languages. By default, it's English, but we have French, Italian, Dutch, and so on. This year an update was indeed to make it a bit easier to add a new language and to translate the tool in new languages. So everything now about the translation is managed into Crowdin. So now basically anyone can translate its own language or help contributing in a language they know. I'll publish the link in the pad right after. The tool itself and how to add a language, a region, and so on is on GitHub. Basically in the documentation, you basically just have to follow the steps, and I take care of the final steps to finalize the new region of the new language. In a few days, the region or the language is added to the tool. The update, so the detection of new mappers is run once a day. So in this case, as you can see, the last update was today, 2 hours ago. It can basically, if you have someone really active like we have in Belgium, that person do welcome new mappers every single day. Feel free to add your own region or to add your own language. I'll be more than happy to assist you to do that. And today we just had the new region today was North Korea. So welcome North Korea, I guess. That's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me later or via GitHub. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Next up on our docket, I believe it's Adam Hoyle. Adam.
Hello. I'm very sorry because I'm English and I'm from London, and that means I speak incredibly fast. So I'm going to try to speak slowly, but do stop me if I'm going too fast. I'm going to share my screen because I've been vaguely organized. So I just want to talk really briefly, because we're running slightly late, about a thing called the OpenStreetMap or OSM Community Index. And this is a lovely tool that is manifested, that appears, I should say, in a number of different places. There is this website, openstreetmap.community. You can go here, you can click anywhere you like. I'm from the United Kingdom, I'll click there. And you can see a list of all of the local and then all of the international ways that you can reach out and talk to the community. So I don't know where else to look, maybe America, because Maggie is here. And so there's things like the Slack and things like that. And you may look at this, hang on, no, I had an order. I'm going off topic already, sorry. So we have this as a place to see it. There is also an amazing website from the Belgian community where you can actually say what kind of thing you are interested in. So you may be interested in Facebook, say, and you can see the communities that engage with Facebook, or at least engage with Facebook and are in the index. But I'll come to that in a second. So maybe they have a local chapter, so these should be the local chapters, or have Twitter, for example, where Twitter is a hot topic at the moment for those on Twitter, or any of those things. So this is a nice tool. Also, if you use, this is why it's particularly interesting, if you use ID, the website editor on openstreetmap.org, when you make an edit, I think for the first time, I'm not entirely sure, I don't particularly use ID, I'm afraid, you get the list, depending on where you are, you will get the list of places that you could find. So for example, this is the UK list with the mailing list, the local chapter, and other things like that. And finally, and very soon, I hope, we will also be showing the local chapters list from OpenStreetMap Community Index on the website. We won't talk too much about that because that should actually be coming soon. Ask me about that later if you want to know more. So you may think to yourself, well, this is great, but I've seen my community and the information isn't quite right. We're missing our Twitter, or we're missing our Telegram, or whatever we're missing. This can be fixed, and relatively easily, depending on your skill level. So it is all held in a GitHub project. So GitHub is a place for managing code. So it's kind of for geeks. So if you are a geek or a nerd or technical, I am a geek and a nerd. You may be technical and not like those terms. That's cool. You can go here and make a pull request or raise an issue. There is, in fact, someone else has made a very nice diary entry on the 7th of February. I will share all of these links, by the way, about how to add, how to do this. It's slightly technical. There's a comment from Yoast about how to do it slightly more easily. Fundamentally, you either do a pull request if you know what that is, or you can raise an issue. I've been working slightly with the team behind, or who are maintaining this, and they are very responsive. They are very lovely. So it is definitely worth doing if your community data information is not quite right. And you can look on any of these sites and see, you may think the name is wrong or it's missing something. And finally, I'm nearly done. Thank you for your patience. You can look on the wiki under OSM Community Index, and it will give you some of the links. And it also talks about translations for ID and things like that. Thank you very much. I mean, I would say any questions, but I guess we'll come back to that later. Back to Maggie in the studio.